So thank you guys so much for coming tonight. I'm sorry it's like an airline flight. We oversold a little bit, and we got here today. We realized we don't have enough seats for everybody. So I really do apologize. But I'm super happy that everybody's here, bearing the heat and all that. So my name is Ryan. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the director here at thINCubator. I'm going to give you a quick elevator pitch here, because that's what we do. We coach on elevator pitches. So we are a small business incubator here in Utica. We're a public-private partnership from MVCC, Community Foundation, and some other great community partners. We basically exist to help entrepreneurs and students who want to start businesses succeed. We have kind of the intersection of people program in place. So we do a 10-week rapid ideation cohort, of which thank you for people that showed up from the cohort tonight. It's awesome. So it's 10 weeks. We try to move you down the business pipeline from if you have an idea to an alpha product, or an alpha product to a beta product, or a beta product to go to market. So we're going to be doing, we're finishing our 10-week summer cohort. We'll be doing a fall cohort starting October 1st. So if you or someone you know, or a student that you mentor has an idea for a business and they want to kind of discover if this is a good idea, a bad idea, or somewhere in between, we can help them with that. So have them shoot me an email. We're also going to be doing, hopefully, judging by the turnout, hopefully some more events like this. There's a lot of value in people learning from successful entrepreneurs. And really our mission at large is to try to identify and build this entrepreneurial ecosystem in Utica. We know it's out there, and you're a prime example of that. So we want to make sure that people have access to mentors and entrepreneurs, and hopefully grow some businesses that will stay right here in Utica. So I will shut up now because I feel like we're inside the actor's studio or between two ferns or something right now. It's very strange. But thank you for coming, and I know you guys are here to see Tim. Does everyone know Tim? Do they not know who Tim Hardiman is? Okay, great. So we can skip the bio in large part, and we'll get to that. But Tim and I were talking about this a few weeks ago. We kind of wanted to create a conversational environment without a keynote, without a PowerPoint, without an agenda, and create a situation where folks that, if you guys have ever had a question for a successful entrepreneur like Tim, or if there's something you want to know about Utica bread, the tailoring the cook, this is your chance to ask. So this is not meant to be just a watching of an interview. This is supposed to be a conversation, and I'll help lead it. But chime in, or if you don't want to jump in, you can send a tweet to @thINCubator, and we'll get it, and we can decide if it's a good question or not to ask. But this is designed to be a conversation. So if there's ever anything that you want to know about Tim's story, this is a chance to ask. So we're going to kind of cover how he got started, what his background is, all the stories surrounding why the hell would you open a high-end restaurant in Bag Square, New York at the time that you did, and then why a bakery, and kind of some of the things that he's learned along the way. So I guess
you're assuming I have an answer.
I'm assuming you do. So he told me nothing was off base from what I sent him already. So is there anything you want to say to start?
Well, I'm flabbergasted that this many people came to hear me talk.
Yeah,
I think you've all come to support the thINCubator. Makes it a little easier for me, but thank you.
We also, because we actually had to cut off the ticket sales, I'm sorry for the folks that are standing, but we're streaming this live on the web right now, and then this will be on our YouTube channel after, so if you want to share it with anybody after, you certainly do that. So as long as the stream holds, I think it'll be working. So
I actually thought I was coming for a talent show.
You are.
You are.
So let's start with your background.
How far? I went to Holland Patton High School, and a cool side note on that, more than half of my culinary staff at the bakery and the tailor and the cook are also Holland Patton High School graduates. Nobody that I knew ahead of time. Just happened to fall into place, so that's pretty interesting.
When
If there's anybody watching from Holland Patton.
You're one of the distinguished alumni.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess let's start with, after high school, what did you study in college, and then when did you know you wanted to be a chef?
Well, I had a good idea that I wanted to go into cooking before I left high school. I wasn't really sure which direction I wanted to go, but I was, I think with the help of my parents, probably aware that, you know, a 4-year program with a high degree of research or testing or, you know, normal school wasn't going to really work out for me. And I grew up in the restaurant business. My father owns a diner. So as I grew up through high school and worked in restaurants, one of the bosses I had at a little restaurant in Barnville called the Marcella was a graduate of Paulson's College, and her name was Marcy Flaherty, and she was a graduate of Paulson's College for hotel restaurant management, and I was working for them I worked there for about 3 years during middle school, high school, and she kind of really pushed me towards culinary arts, and I went and visited a couple schools when I decided that I might want to be a cook, because I'd always been interested in cooking. And I visited the CIA and Johnson & Wales, and then I visited Paulson's College, which is, you know, if you don't know, just outside of Lake Placid, Saranac Lake. And once I saw the actual school and its surroundings, I didn't really need to visit any other places. I really wasn't interested in culinary arts in Hyde Park or Providence, Rhode Island. So, you know, it's kind of sold on that around X and being up north. And so 1997, I went to Paulson's College for culinary arts, two-year degree, just an associate's degree. I would have been the first group of kids if I decided to stay on at Paul Smith's for a bachelor's degree in culinary arts. They just started the 4-year program there. And, you know, they were courting a lot of us to stick around to go for the bachelor's after we graduated with associates, but I decided I just wanted to get out in the real world. And, you know, being a cook is you can only learn so much in a classroom. It's really a trade. It's like auto mechanics so I just went to work. You know, part of the education at Paul Smith's College is an internship and an externship. So, you know, they line you up with those. I went to Boston and spent better part of 2 years in Boston right after I graduated, working in kitchens.
Doing what kind of food, what kind of service?
A couple of different places. My original externship was at a Mexican Tex-Mex place called the Iguana Cantina. Not exactly the food I wanted to be cooking, but I took it because it was a startup. They were looking for extern placements of kids that wanted to be a part of a startup business. And even then, I saw the value in being a part of a business that wasn't yet open. So I took that, and the first 6 weeks of my externship were part of a restaurant that wasn't even open. So we were, you know, building up the brand and setting up equipment and doing a lot of the things that I've done now.
Sure.
So, and then I stayed there. I just worked there through the conclusion of my externship, and then I moved on. I really wasn't interested in Tex-Mex. So I went to a real high-end French place called L'Espalier downtown. It was on Gloucester Street now. It's moved since then. I stayed there for a short period of time.
What kind of stuff do you do in an externship like that? Like when you're at the French place, what are you actually doing?
You work hard for very little pay. And when you're overseas, when you're in France, you're called a stagiaire, or it's basically a commis, a person that is working for free or next to free. But you're learning skills that are really fundamental to, you know, building up a culinary repertoire. So if you're in an extern position, you're not on the line. You're not conceptually turning out anything. You're picking herbs or peeling potatoes or shelling peas, shelling fava beans, peeling peppers. You know, you're doing the grunt work.
So you were saying, so you worked in this place in Boston, then you were living when you're in France.
Yeah.
So you went to France.
I did. Part of my internship, so the extern is what I spoke about in Boston. My internship at Paul Smith's, they had a really awesome group of things that you could do for an internship. You could work at the Hotel Saranac, right at Saranac Lake. You could do the catering track. We took you to the horse show, the U.S. Open, couple of other things. But the one that really was interesting to me was the French internship. So I spent 4 months in Paris and Burgundy and worked in 3 different restaurants, 1 vineyard, a butcher shop, and just really, I learned a lot of it.
Okay, well, so tell us a little bit about that experience, because you don't speak French.
I don't, and I didn't done either.
So start from the beginning. So how does it even work? You show up in these places, you don't speak a lick of French, and they expect you to perform, and they expect you to learn without language. So what's that like?
English is universal,
Right.
as much as the French people didn't really like to admit it, they could communicate with me. I did have 1 semester of elementary French crash course before I went over there. I took 3 years of Spanish in high school and really wished I had taken French.
Hey, working with the tech monks.
Yeah, right. Actually, I used Spanish a lot more when I was in Boston, communicating with all of the immigrants that worked in a lot of Ecuadorians, Brazilians, Guatemalans that work in kitchens. Spanish is very valuable for the company here. It's even if you're not in Spain. Back to France, I was able to get around. I could get a train ticket. I could order food. I could. I had enough elementary French to get around. I could understand what people were speaking to me. I knew culinary French. And I'll tell you what, when you're immersed in the culture for 4 months and you're all by yourself, literally all by yourself, you learn pretty quick. It gets really lonely, so you learn to at least speak enough to let the French or the natives respect that you're trying. And if they see that you're trying to limp through their language, they'll come in with some English and kind of meet you in the middle. So that was the better part of 15 years ago. But by the time I left, I was not conversational, but I was able to get around.
So then, what were the things that you took away from besides the straight culinary skills? I mean, are the restaurants over there run completely differently than they are here in terms of ingredients and preparation? What's different about it?
No, ingredients, preparation, if you know cuisine and you want to be a cook, it doesn't matter what country you're in. You're going to peel a potato the same in France as you are in the United States. You're going to braise a pork shoulder the same way. The temperature, while it's a different, they're using Celsius and we're using Fahrenheit, and they're using metric system. We're the only ones who are not. That's all the same. What's different is workout. They work hard a lot longer without, especially in kitchens. When I was in Paris, I worked at a restaurant in the 7th arrondissement called Arpège. And we worked split shifts. We went in at 8 and worked until 1. So we did a lunch service from 11 to 1. And then we left until 3. We came back, so you had 2 hours off for a nap. And then you went back at 3, had a dinner, family meal, everybody ate together, they talked about the futures for the evening. And then you had dinner service from 5 p.m. until 11 p.m. And you left at about midnight, went home, right back in at 8 a.m. And I did that 6 days a week for 6 weeks. So Sundays off. And that's a work day that most Americans would
Not do.
not do.
Right.
I'm still not working that much, even owning my own place. I never worked as hard as I did when I was over there. That was just the norm for people in restaurants in Paris, and this was a really high-end restaurant. So I'm sure there were cooks, chefs that worked less at maybe little casual operations.
So you come back from Europe, and then can you talk a little bit about let's go to pre-tailoring the cook, pre-fin, you get back and what were you doing before you decided to start tailoring the cook? And then did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Did you know you wanted to open a restaurant? When did that happen?
So the first part, I came back from France, I returned to Boston. I was there for a couple of years. And then I was back in Saranac Lake Placid for a few years, kind of drawn back to the Adirondacks. And, you know, I didn't hold any job for any extended period of time in that portion of my life in my early 20s. And you know, now I look at other people's, when I interview people, I look at resumes, and I don't necessarily, a good cook is going to bounce around and, you know, kind of take what is offered to them as far as skills and know-how. And, you know, so I bounced around a bunch of different restaurants in the Adirondacks, kind of worked my way south to Old Forge, and I spent quite a few years at Van Hawkins Inn. It's in Thundera, right behind the train station.
Yeah.
And I worked for Paul and Kathy Ribbett there for, on and off for about 4 years. And Paul, you know, can't stand to hear me say it, but he really is my culinary mentor and still one of my closest friends. And so I developed a lot of my cooking style there at Van Hawkins. Really simple, pared back, not a lot of flourish, just, you know, good ingredients and simple food. And I moved on from Van Hawkins and continued my way south. And my dad and I attempted to open a business, kind of the evolution of his business there in Martinville. He owns Adirondack Lanes, a little diner, bar, bowling alley. And we had talked about opening a sandwich shop there in an LA catering space. And we tried really hard to get that thing off the ground. People don't like to finance food service. You know, banks are real hesitant about getting involved with food service. Not sure why. It's such a surefire bet. So all through that, you know, and all those jobs, yeah, I guess I kind of always envisioned myself owning my own restaurant, but you got to be crazy to get into this. So and you got to have some money. So while it was always maybe a dream, it wasn't something that I ever necessarily believed would come to fruition. I just always thought, if I had my own place, I'd probably do all right with it. I would do this or I would do that. You know, I worked for a lot of different people. And whenever you work for somebody.
Who was the worst or the toughest? What was the toughest gig post Paris, like in that time period, and why was it the toughest?
Ellis Pollier in Boston was the toughest.
Yeah.
And it was because I really sold myself in the interview. I sold that whole French internship that I had, and I wasn't really cut out for it. I was under-skilled for the job they hired.
Just in strict culinary terms?
Yeah. Not work ethic, and not in. I had a thick skin. I could handle what they were putting on me, but I did not have the skills that I needed to work in that kitchen. And they let me know. And I wasn't fired, but
Or promoted either.
no, I don't. I took a lot of flack there for not having the skills that I needed and for making mistakes that I made. You know, in the end, it was a really good opportunity. There's still some things that I use from my bag of tricks that I learned at this Pollier. And it didn't help that I was the only Paul Smith College graduate in a kitchen of about 22 cooks. Every single one of them graduated from New England Culinary, including the chef and the owner. Most seasoned cooks, a lot of seasoned cooks in Boston come out of Necky, which is in Vermont. So that wasn't a factor in my success or lack of success there, but it certainly was fodder for them.
A lot of the folks or I shouldn't say a lot of folks, but I'll talk to students too, working on their business ideas and stuff, and they want to come out and go and either go for a job that is a executive level job right out of college, or they want to be the executive right out of the get-go. Do you, I mean, with your experience, I know culinary is a thing, but would you advise people to kind of, I guess pay the dues and go up, or would you tell people to go for the jugular and see what happens?
You have to pay your dues. I mean, if there's anyone who's know if there's any college-age kids in here considering going into culinary arts, but you're not going to get rich. You have to really like cooking and really be passionate about it. And you do not have the skills you need coming out of the culinary arts degree, whether it's 2 years or 4 years to own a business or operate a business. You do not have.
Was entrepreneurship part of the curriculum?
Absolutely, yeah. And I got a great education at Boston College. It's a trade. It's not a degree in computer science. It's not. It's a trade. You must use your hands and develop the things that they teach you. They'll give you the building blocks, and the operation of a restaurant. Learn that in class. I'm not even sure I have the skills right now to do it, but I'm certainly a lot farther along than I was, in 1999. Most college-age kids are between 19 and 21 years old when you graduate. There's a rare, very rare person who has the skills to operate any business at that age, in my opinion. I mean, I'm sure there's some out there that were probably a little more astute than I was. But.
Well, so with that being said, can we talk about titties, wieners, and buns?
That was successful.
Just start. Why don't you just, for those of you guys who don't know, titties, wieners, and buns was one of Tim's early ventures with Talga, and it's a legit business. And
yeah,
what was it kind of legit?
Semi-legit.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't you just tell people kind of what it was and that process? Just tell us. It's not Chris was here.
I feel the need to really explain the name, and I don't know as I need to do that. Actually, there's something prior to Titties, Wieners, and Buns. Chris and I and Mark Doherty, who is now my brother-in-law, the three, I went to college with Mark at Paul Smith College, and then I went to high school with Chris and Howell Patton. The three of us at, how old, 22, 23? Again, there's that age where you're just not ready to own a business. We opened a catering company on Bleecker Street called Catalyst Catering. We operated out of what was before us Del Bono East, and then later became the original Lotus Garden. Mm-hmm. We rented that space, and we opened this catering company, and we did good business. We did some really good. We catered the 75th anniversary at the Stanley Theater, 400 people, black tie, and a lot of other great catering gigs. We were in business, a real legitimate business, LLC, and but we thought that we could operate this business without paying ourselves. So we just paid all of our bills and did all this business, and it was just. There was a million reasons why we didn't succeed, but the chief among them was not taking a salary for ourselves, because you can only work so hard for no money for so long. So we shut down Catalyst Catering. Thankfully, we had a good lawyer who maybe she knew that we were a little too green to make it work, or maybe she just had been through it before. But we had an exit strategy, thankfully, and we didn't have to declare bankruptcy or anything like that. At the end of it, we all went out on our own and worked day jobs, remained friends. And there were there's a couple of weeks, Chris, where tensions were high and finances were very low. And there were some pretty intense evenings where it seemed like we might not be friends, but we got through that pretty quickly. And we had this one piece of equipment, a very large char broiler, 6 feet. 6 feet in diameter, and it was the only piece of equipment that we didn't liquidate. And so I was living in my dad's barn, and Chris had just purchased 720 Varick, which later became Nail Creek. We were one night. I think the catalyst of it was we were sitting on the porch above what is now Nail Creek, and talking about how much we really disliked going into Saranac Thursdays because of the crowd, and we had kind of grown out of that. And but we did like the idea of perhaps making some money. And this was pre any food vendor on Bear Street. There was no one selling food. I don't know what year it was, 03, 04. And So we decided to take that big char welder and sell hot dogs. And right in front of 720 Barrack, which is now in the Elk Creek. And we were searching for a name, and Mark said, well, it's in front of Chris's house, so why don't we call it Chris's Wieners and Buns? And I had this great idea. You're going to have to ask Chris why the next step happened. But I said, we used to call Chris by the name Titty Talbot. And I said, no, I think we should call it Titty's Wieners and Buns. And anybody who's ever seen the concept of Hooters knows that sex can be a good selling point, even if it's food service. And so we started selling hot dogs on Saranac Thursday. We were the first Barrack Street food vendor, and we knocked them dead. And we had this real, from a marketing standpoint, probably the most rudimentary logo was a big hot dog, and then the giant word titties. Way down at the bottom in tiny letters it said Wieners and Buns. And the first night we hung up the sign and sold a lot of hot dogs, and somebody said, you guys should get t-shirts. And we got some t-shirts, and in the end, after 2 years of operating Titty's Wieners and Buns on Saranac Thursdays, we made a lot more money in t-shirts than we made in hot dogs. And I still every now and again see somebody with one of those. I don't even have one.
I had one of those t-shirts, and I was living at home at the time, and I think it mysteriously disappeared in the wash. But I know I purchased one. So
there's still a few floating. There's our Ryan Love, a semi famous regional national actor who still probably wears his Titty's Wieners and Buns shirt whenever he comes to you.
You guys had clever names for your food. So I remember getting the home record.
Yeah, we really should have delved into this.
Okay, all right, we'll move on. Let's talk about it. We'll move on. And we got it.
Yeah.
We're moving here. So, I want to get into how you started Taylor the Cook, and that's what we really I want to focus on. But if I could just back up a second, we were my wife and I were having beers with Tim and Melissa a couple months ago. We've been trying to recruit these guys to speak at TED for years, and they just won't do it. But they got this great story to tell, and they were telling us a story about how their son. Can I ask this? Is this okay?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Their son Finn, when he was born, had a lot of allergies, and this situation I think kind of informed your thinking of some of the ways that you were going to, the food you were going to choose and how you were going to do Taylor the Cook. Can you just tell us that story, because I'm fascinated by it. I know
there's two parts to Taylor and the Cook and how it developed. So the first one is where our heads were at prior to opening the restaurant, and Finn was born, and the first year of his life was colic, and I don't believe in colic. And after learning what I've learned, our son was allergic to everything that he was eating via his mother's breast milk, because he was allergic to more foods when he was born than he wasn't. A laundry list of stuff that we found out. Melissa, as a very intuitive mother, had an inkling that there was something wrong that wasn't just a cranky baby. And so we pushed and pushed, and we finally got some testing, and it's allergic to everything. Wheat, soy, cow's milk, peanuts, tree nuts, eggs, just insane. And so we regulated his diet, and the colic was gone. He was in discomfort. And we were already kind of interested in this whole local foods movement, but that really catapulted us, because we really were questioning, this kid didn't do anything to have those allergies. It's what Melissa and I did, or in our opinion, what we ate growing up. I grew up a child of, the 80s, processed food, and there certainly wasn't a lot of fresh vegetables, and we ate a lot of processed crap. And that's where our minds really believed that these things came from. And through a lot of research, we just decided that we needed to know more about the stuff that we were eating. And so we entered into this local foods movement and started procuring as much of the food that we could eat at our house local. And I always give the caveat, we are not like organic purists. I still like my Honey Nut Cheerios in the morning. We eat processed food. It's almost unrealistic to think that you can live a life without processed food in this day and age, especially if you're going out at somebody's house. But the majority of what we ate in our home became farmstead or locally obtained, and we wanted to develop relationships with the people that were producing the food that we ate. So, and it mostly is the proteins and the dairy. We tried to cut out a lot of the process. So that's where we were in our home. And interestingly enough, Finn is not allergic to anything anymore. Peanuts we still are a little wary about, but he eats cow's milk, eggs, wheat, soy, all of it. Because when he does eat those products, they're not processed. They don't eat a lot of commodity protein, commodity dairy. It's good to go. Do I think that we, cured him of it? No, I think if we kept him on a diet of processed food, he might continue on with that. I can't cast judgment on any parents who, however you are able or choose to feed your child, is completely up to you, but that worked for us. And also, it's just, that's the way I want to eat. That's the way I want to feed my son, that's the way I want to feed my family, and I like the connection of I loved meeting these farmers, and we were buying food at that point through a buying cooperative called the Food Shed, which is now defunct, but right at that time in our lives, it was really a good thing for us. And so that's the first portion of your question. The second portion, just because we were into local foods did not mean we were ready to open a restaurant. I was working at Delmonico's, managing the restaurant, and my old friend Chris came and said, I got an idea, and he said, I really, Greek's going well, and I'd like to open a restaurant. And I was probably about as skeptical as I could have been from the get-go. And he had this location in mind. And so we went and took a look at 94 Genesee Street.
There's a pic somewhere in here. There's a photo.
Yeah, there's
an old.
There's some really cool pictures on here that I haven't seen in a long time. But we took a look at what is now the Taylor and the Cook, and I was pretty much appalled that he was even thinking that this was a remotely good idea. And I kept him at bay for a while, and I think he hooked Melissa I know he hooked Melissa before he hooked me. I don't know if they went out for drinks separately or something, but he got her on board, and then the two of them kind of, whether it was on purpose or not, kind of systematically convinced me that I should at least have an open mind. And Melissa did a really good job at bringing up a story that I told her prior to even knowing her. When Chris bought 720 Barrack, this would even be before Titties, Wieners, and Buns, we were drinking at the electric company as we often did. And he said, I gotta show you something. So we walk outside and we stand in front of 720 Barrack, and he said, this is my house. And I said, oh, you are crazy. And I think the first time that we went through there, we went through a window, because there was no door. And I mean, this place was.
It was condemned.
Oh, it was just.
Something was supposed to be.
You would look, if anybody remembers what 720 Barrack looked like, or the building right next door to it, which is now a parking lot, which was pretty much identical. I mean, and I told him that he was crazy and he should have his head examined and everything. And then fast forward, he's developing the building, he and his future wife were living on the second floor, and then he says, I'm gonna put a brewery in this back building. And I said, you are crazy. That building should be torn down. This is the building that now houses what is the brewery at Now Creek. He did that too. And so here's two examples of me telling Chris that he should, check himself into the loony bin, and him clearly knowing that he could pull it off. So Melissa says, remember those stories you told me about Chris, and you're thinking he was crazy, and then he
he pulls this off. Why don't you listen? So Chris and Melissa and Tracy and I sat down one Saturday morning with Lynn Michelin, who is absolutely a visionary for Bag Square, who used to own this building that we now own. And we had coffee at the coffee roasters. I didn't know Frank and Heather at that time. We were only open on Saturdays at that point. And so we go in there and we talked for hours. And, I walked out of there far less skeptical. But you know, people that we trusted, my father, friends of ours were like, this is a terrible idea, don't do this. Bag Square wasn't even the tagline then, it was just Peeper's neighborhood. You know, people, at that point, people still, drew similarities to this neighborhood with the Washington courts, and you know, everybody told us this was a bad idea, but my mind had changed, and we started writing a business plan. Chris wanted to open this restaurant, and that was the evolution. So those two things came together, and if we were going to open a restaurant, it was going to be local. It was going to be farm to table. And we knew enough about farm to table to know that it was a good idea in almost every other market other than here. So that's low-hanging fruit. Sure. And that's what Chris and I look at all the time. What's the low-hanging fruit? I mean, Frank and Heather saw low-hanging fruit many years before that in Bag Square and in coffee. And so in a city like Utica that's been down really hard for a long time, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit. There's a lot of gaps in the marketplace, whether it's food service or hospitality or anything. Cities like Utica have lots of low-hanging fruit. So farm to table seemed like a good idea. We didn't know for sure, but we gave it a shot.
You guys were the original, Frank was the original guy down here, right? And
Many years before us.
it's funny, you guys have taken over the, just before, like you said, when we say, hey, Bag Square, we're gonna open a restaurant in Bag Square. Where's Bag Square? Oh, by Peepers. And now it's like, where's Bag Square? Oh, by Utica Coffee, it's here on the Cook. So you guys have taken over the place mark of the neighborhood.
Well, Bag Square in and of itself has a presence now, and that's what's important, and we're all working hard on that, and what's good for Bag Square is good for you.
So why did you locate in Bag Square? Why did you decide
Why
this
this
was the place? Well, no, I mean.
Because of people like
Okay.
Frank and Lynn Michelin, because there were people who
But Lynn could have said open downtown. Lynn could have said go, you know.
she had a vested interest in Bag Square. She owned this building, 106. She had been dreaming about Bag Square for years, a long time.
But it had to look rough because there was not. It was, I mean, you guys were doing good stuff. You were it. Right?
There's a picture on there too, if you didn't see it, of Utica Coffee and the Tailor and the Cook. If somebody sees that come around, let's look at it. 'Cause, I mean, it was rough down here.
Yeah.
Frank's building didn't even have windows in it. Did you put the windows in?
We did put the windows in.
Yeah, I mean, our building, the facade looked no, it looked a lot different too. I mean, yeah, it was rough down there.
What were some of the unique benefits and challenges of being here?
The supreme benefit is, well, there's two. One, location. And you hear it in every business class you ever take, location, location, location. I wholeheartedly believe in Bag Square because of the architecture, because of the way the neighborhood's laid out, but there's downtown, there's West Utica, there's East Utica, there's North Utica and the Thruway. There isn't a better neighborhood, in my opinion. I mean, there's great neighborhoods in Utica, but this one is
Right there.
supremely located. Yeah,
That's it. That's a good picture.
I think Bag Square is just the best place for a business to open in Utica because of its location. Now, people could say it's hard to get to, or there's some one-way streets that make things a little bit particular down here, but between the Odd and Genesee Street, I mean, you're just seconds from the Thruway, you're seconds from every neighborhood. Genesee Street can take you, downtown and then, all the way to Hartford, and it's the location. Challenges, I mean, probably some of the pros are the cons, parking or, the ability to get to the Tailor and the Cook. If you don't know your way around here, you gotta get around two one-way streets running the same way next to each other, Burchard Lane and Genesee Street. I don't think that's very good traffic planning, but generally one-way streets run opposite of each other. But here, I mean, not that Burchard is a major thoroughfare, but Burchard Lane is a one-way heading towards Oriskany Boulevard, and so is Genesee. You know, so it's a little bit tricky down here, but I gotta be honest with you, I don't think there are that many challenges down here. I think it's the pros of Bag Square outweigh the cons 10 to 1.
What do you think were in the lead up to opening Taylor and Cook and from like, let's say 30 days up to opening day and 30 days after opening day? What was that? What was that process like from what your expectations were versus what happened?
I literally have a very foggy memory of that. I mean, we were working extreme hours. We were over budget. We were overworked. We were supposed to. What was our first original opening date? October, November. Chris and I. Yeah, it was. We bought the building. We bought 94 Genesee Street on July 8th, the day after my birthday. We thought we'd open in October. And then October came and went, so did the new year, and we opened on February 1st. We were hemorrhaging money. We were in a bad way. The liquor license was delayed. Chris drove to Albany that day to get the license, and then to King Jerry to get the liquor, and he ran out of gas on the side of the road. We literally stocked the shelves of the bar. If we opened for dinner service at 4, which we did ending out at 5, we stocked the bar at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was possible that we'd have all these full tables and reservations and no booze, which wouldn't have been the end of the world, although when you want to go high end the way that we've had, the beverage is almost as important as the food. We really opened on a shoestring. When I look back, so it's been almost 4 years. When I look back on that and the way that we were operating and how loose and fast and loose it was, I'm surprised we're still in business. It was a whole different restaurant. But people liked it right from the get-go, and we were busy. We were really busy. And I think it was a bunch of different stuff. It was the farm to table, it was Bag Square, it was
Just a service too. You know, I think
Yeah,
you guys, I've equated to riding a ride when you guys go there. I think, you know, you go for the food, but the experiences is there too. How do you decide? Because that's a whole other beast, right? So how do you build a team that can get you, you know, get to your vision? How do you find the people that do that?
I have no idea.
Oh, come on.
They
We sent you this question ahead of time.
But I don't have the answer. They walk through the door. It's kismet, or I don't know what it is, but at every step of the way, the right people have been where we needed them to be. And I think that maybe it was that low-hanging fruit. You know, there were people out there who were so interested in fine dining, and you know, we picked a couple of them, you know, pre-selected, but they add up, and it's been that way ever since. I'm more thankful to that than anything, that the people have walked through the door, that, and you know, so many of the people that started with us in Taylor and Cook are still on staff or have transitioned into staff at Beautiful Bread. And that is it, you know. We wouldn't have the flow of business or the acclaim that we do without the service that
I agree.
provide. You know, I'm not in the front of the house, but I've done a lot of time in the front of the house, and we haven't really talked about that. But you know, I've spent almost as many years working in the front of the house of restaurants as I have in the back. And especially, you know, a lot of it came from Del Monte's, which is a totally different concept than what we're doing at the Taylor and the Cook. But I learned a lot there about service and attentiveness, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And we just developed that, and it doesn't. Everybody's been to a place where the food was spectacular and the service was not. And it dumps it down. On the flip side of that, everybody's been to a place where the product, the food or the product was mediocre, but the people or the service was personal, and that lifts the whole thing up. And so if you've got good product, good food, and good service, so it's always been 3 parts for us. And when we wrote the business plan, and still today, food, service, atmosphere, ambiance. If you have all 3 of those things in a symbiotic relationship, I don't know, it's a no-brainer. But every place I go falls short in one area. Or maybe 2. I mean, if you fall short of 2, you're out. If you can hit 2 out of 3, you can make it. And if you hit all 3, then and it doesn't mean that it has to be high end, like the tailor and the cook. I mean, we're shooting for all 3 of those downstairs at Utica Bread in a much more casual operation. It doesn't even have to be food service. Product, service, ambiance. And I just believe in that, and I don't think it's a pretty elementary concept. But the atmosphere has to be interesting, thought-provoking, clean. The food has to be what you said it would be. The product has to be what you said it would be, and consistent. And the service, it's all about the service. It doesn't really matter how good everything else is. If you don't feel well taken care of, all the other stuff.
That's what I need business.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody visits a place where their service is lacking. And it's so disheartening because most of the time it's just a smile or a genuine person-to-person interaction. That's all these really.
How do you, so how do you instill that in, you guys are still Utica Bread, how do you said you don't know how you build a team, but how do you instill that quality of service? Trust. Because now you're having to do this a whole other group, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of starting from scratch again. How do you maintain that caliber of service?
I believe that if you speak to the people about how you feel about service or the product that you're producing, and you really talk to them about what the concept means to you, they're either going to grab a hold of it and react in a similar fashion to how I or our management would, or they don't. And either they walk away at that time thinking, oh, this guy's way over the top and far too much for me, or they fall away in time because they're just not in the same line as from a standpoint of service or hospitality. If they don't live and breathe it the way that we do, it works itself out, and I'm pretty passionate about what I do. So is Melissa, so is Chris and Tracy, and if you walk the walk, then other people will too. And I don't, my management is, while I might not be doing the same job that I'm asking everybody else to do, I don't ask anyone to do something I wouldn't do or I haven't done. I started my career washing dishes and bussing tables. And I really do believe that a good cook or a good restaurant manager really has to have that type of background. I know what that's like, and while maybe I don't scrub the pots or scrub down the line every night, it's not something I haven't done, and it's not something that I don't know the value. So to me, it's just that they either fall in line doing what we do and how we do it, or they don't. And if they don't, then it works itself.
So can you give us the quick overview of why you decided, okay, restaurant's now kind of humming, why open the bakery, why a bakery? I know you're gonna say low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Right? So then what was the philosophy behind the location, the concept, and really the time frame?
It's that Chris Talbot thing.
So it was his idea. You just said, "Hey, this one's working. Let's roll."
Here's how it works with Chris and I. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm like in the here and now, and Tel was always 2 steps ahead of me looking at the next. So I'm the operator, and Chris is the conceptualist, the visionary, you know, and also, it's like the Wild West down here, you know? These buildings aren't gonna be here for sale forever. And if they are for sale, not at the price that they are now. So with the neighborhood developing the way that it is, another building comes available. Chris is not gonna let it go by. And yeah, low-hanging fruit, what's next? No,
Did the building come first, or did the concept come first? Were you like, there's the building, let's get the building and figure out what to do with it, or the concept come first?
I don't know. I think probably the building did.
Close.
They were in line with each other. I don't think we had the idea for a bakery until we had the idea for this building. We were getting our bread from Paul Rivet, who I mentioned, who was at my mentor at Van Hawkins Inn, and then Five Corners Cafe now in Old Forge. If you haven't been to Five Corners, that's where you need to go. And Paul has been producing this one kind of bread since I met him at Van Hawkins. Just beautiful, simple, very rustic bread. Paul would drive the dough down to us every Tuesday, and we would bake it fresh in-house every day for the tailor and the cook. And it was great. It worked out great, but bread is a place where you can either make money. Well, I guess anything is a place where you can either make money or spend money, but we were spending money mostly in gas and delivery for this dough coming down from Old Forge. And then this fellow named Steve Arbogast, Holland Patton graduate, came into the fold at the tailor and cook not long after we opened. Gardens and sous chef. Super talented guy, great friend, and he possessed the ability to bake and the drive and the desire to be a baker. Yet we couldn't allow him to do it at the tailor and cook because we didn't have the means or the space, and we're pretty tapped out for space over there. The production of bread requires, at the very least, a decent-sized mixer and some space to proof and develop the bread, plus an oven which is consistent. So, poor guy wanted to bake, but he had to produce somebody else's bread every day. And I don't have an actual birthplace for the idea of Utica bread in the way that I do for the tailor and the cook. I can tell you that story exactly how I already told you. I don't really recall the actual birth of the idea for Utica bread because we were just working so hard. But somewhere along the way it came out and we started to develop this idea, and it became clear that Steve was a part of that equation, you know, and he wanted to work for us. I remember Steve told us probably one of the greatest compliments that anyone could ever give me as a manager or a business owner. He said, "I'm not going in." And I believed him when he said that, and his quality of work was worth keeping around. And so we started to write a business plan. It took us a long time. We've been writing this business plan and developing this idea for 2 years.
What's been the, again, so 30 days pre-opening, and you guys have been open about 30 days, right? Is today 30 days?
Something like that.
Something like that, all right.
We opened on July 8th. Crazy, I just realized that that's the day that we bought 94 Genesee Street. 4 years. I just realized that. We bought, and I know that because my birthday is July 7th, so we purchased 94 Genesee Street on July 8th, 2012. And we opened Utica Bread on July 8th, 2015. Crazy, I really didn't even realize that.
So 30 days up, 30 days out.
Yeah.
What's it, expectations versus reality?
Well,
And
we
it's
knew
hard to
this
be-
was a good idea.
Yeah, okay.
We knew Utica needed bread. I did not expect that it would be so cult-ish. But I've learned that bread has a real quality of really bringing people to a neighborhood, and people get really excited about it because it is very magical, you know. Flour plus salt plus water plus yeast equals a food that can sustain an entire civilization. And it happens through chemical and processes that I'll never understand. It is magic, it truly is.
Let's call it magic.
And so the 30 days leading up to it, you know, just as hellish as I expected them to be, except we knew how hellish it would be. But I get real high strung, and everybody's tensions are very high. And it's still that way downstairs at the bakery, but we've learned a lot already. And I mean, like I said, looking back at what the tailor and the cook was like in those first couple of months, first year, I'm confident that Utica bread will be pretty awesome in about a year. But I mean, it's awesome now, but we've got a long way to go. We are working out kinks left and right, conceptually and operationally every single day. The one thing that is both good and bad is we really are held to a very high standard. And that's because of how we operate as a retailer and cook. And sometimes I wish, people would just
Give it a break.
cut us some slack, but then again, no, I don't.
Sure.
Because that's what keeps you on your toes. But people expect us to open and to be really good from day one. And that's a lot of pressure. But when you got the right people and the right equipment and when you put enough time into it, you can even it out. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for high expectations. I'm thankful for what the springboard that we have developed out of the retailer and cook. I don't think that anybody just opening a bakery in downtown Utica would have seen that.
Someone camping out the night before, right?
Yeah, that's just insane.
So Brett Truitt camped out the night before. He wanted to be the first customer. He camped out. It was awesome.
I am continually humbled by so many different, that you are all here tonight listening to me talk about this, and Brett Truitt camping out, and the social media response, and the top 100 at the tailor and the cook. It's just, I don't know where this is coming from. I know we're working hard, so I can pat myself on the back for that. And if success is a result of hard work, then we've got a better shot at it.
So let's wind this down here with you. I'm sorry we've just been going, and we'll take some questions if we got them. But here's some more fundamental.
I have some jokes too.
You want to do that?
No.
All right. So this is some more kind of conceptual stuff. But, from an entrepreneur perspective, what does success look like to you right now? How do you know when you're good?
I want to tell you that I don't think we're successful yet. I think we're laying the building blocks for success, but success isn't measured in 4 years or 30 days.
Well, personal level. How will you know when you feel, if you don't feel successful now, how do you know when you will say, I've been successful in your mind? So I think a lot of people would argue and say that you're very successful now.
A lot of people haven't seen the books.
No. We don't have to go into that.
No, we definitely don't. Success is, we have achieved some portion of it. I'm self-employed. I like that. Most days I like that. Except when times are tough and you really just wish somebody would tell you what to do. When you can't figure out what the next step is, you really wish you had a boss to tell you what to do. But success is really, truly, and this sounds so jaded, but it really is wanting to go to work. I know that is so stereotypical. And it doesn't matter whether you're self-employed or you're not, but there are a lot of people in this world that work a job and they may be achieving financial success or long-term success or weekends off success or summer vacation success, but they don't really passionately, intrinsically love what they do. And even though I work more than I don't lately, I really, really do love it. So that's success. So in some ways I'm achieving that. And making people happy in the business of hospitality that I'm in is a measure of success. And people are definitely happy for the most part about what we do. So I wouldn't be so vain to say that I don't, balance of that loving to go, because if you're doing all that and you love your job, but you're not paying your bills, well, is that successful, or if you're struggling at home? So it's a balance of a goal of financial stability, not wealth per se, although I wouldn't mind some wealth, but just financial stability balanced with really loving what you're doing. I think to me that's this is hospitality. I'm in the business of taking care of people. So when they tell us that it was a great meal, or some far out things like this was the best meal I ever had, or that's successful. So yeah, I am successful in a lot of ways. And if the building burnt down today, I could know that at least we succeeded in at least the short term and the long term. And I guess we're achieving short term.
If you could talk to the Tim of 1999 or the Tim of Paul Smith's college, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
He wasn't listening very well.
Okay, what advice would you give to him?
His mind was clouded. Well, anybody who wants to go into hospitality, I really tell them, into cooking, into the restaurant business, I really tell them to think it through. It's not for everyone. This is a heck of a business to be in. So the Tim of 1999 was just graduated from culinary arts, and I would say just remember, all those weddings, concerts, weekends, throw them out. I try to be very realistic to young people who want to go into restaurants. It's not all that stuff on TV. I'm just so thankful I got to go to your wedding on Friday night.
We were on.
Well, but there's been a dozen weddings in the last 4 years of the Taylor and the Cook that I haven't been to. And the operation of a restaurant is a real. It's kind of self-serving in some ways, that you really have to really like food and hospitality, because that's going to be your reward. Not a weekend off, and not a short work day, and not a whole lot of richness, So when people ask, when I talk to the OC's classes or the MB culinary arts classes, I really try to scare them, because it's scary. And if they don't really fully understand what it takes to be a cook or a restaurateur, they really ought to hear it. Because if you can get them, maybe they're not cut out for that. Maybe they don't want to be working like that. Or maybe they want to find another subset of hospitality that isn't quite so demanding.
So I guess the last thing would be kind of more generically, you can kind of answer this a little bit, but I get to talk to a lot of students and a lot of people that have an idea for a business, or maybe it's a dream, or maybe, something they haven't really thought through all the way. But if someone feels like they want to go and do something, what advice would you give to a young entrepreneur that's here in Utica? And I know this is very vague, but
I have an answer for this, and this isn't a joke. But Chris and I, if someone tells, specific to Utica, if someone tells me that that's not a very good idea for Utica, I know it's a really good idea. You're not going to farm a table at a square. You can't open a French, European-style bakery in Utica. If someone really doubts something like that, I have to wonder if I can't overcome that doubt. And Chris is really good at that. Chris opened a beer pub microbrewery. Everybody told me I was not good at it.
I think I told him it wasn't a good idea. I remember sitting at the electric company and you told me this. So I first met this guy. He was this crazy dude with a ponytail talking about opening up a brew pub. And I was like, I just don't know.
Everything that seems to me like a good idea is to a lot of people a really sketchy idea. And that's what if somebody tells me, I've got a couple other ideas, and I've pitched it to a couple other people, and they're like, oh, that's a terrible idea. I know that it's a good idea. I think that's pretty specific to Utica. because everybody in this room knows that, there's kind of two camps, and one's getting a lot smaller right now. The doubters.
Yeah.
And in the, let's say.
The Uticants.
Yeah,
And then the Uticants, right?
There's a lot of doubt in the city for a long time. I guess I wasn't really here through that, but there was a lot of reason to have doubt in Utica, let's say in the 80s or the 90s. But that mentality is diminishing. And then there's the Utica. And I gotta tell you, I don't think there's a much better climate for business than here right now, and it has to do with the economics of it, but it also has to do with pride, and it takes a place that's been down so hard for so long to have that kind of pride. A place that's experienced, let's say economic boom or just positivity for a long time. That pride is harder to come by because they don't know what the flip side is like. I think it's interesting how much the youth is really so pro-Utica, because myself included, I don't even really know what it was like when it was real bad. And I feel like it's the people who really, the people that are a good 10 or 15 years older than me that really should be latching onto that pride, because damn, it's a hell of a lot better than it was then. And we got a lot of years to go. There's nowhere to go with that.
So I guess I should first say thank you. This was really awesome. Does anyone have any questions for Tim at all? Fire away.
So what kind of capital did you have when you were starting Taylor and Cook? Did you have a lot of money saved? Did you have to go out and get some loans? Like, what did you have to do?
Well, no, we didn't have a lot of money saved. Still don't. You can get a loan for food service, but there's a cap to what they're going to give you. And Chris and Tracy and Melissa and I scrapped together enough capital to put down. Oh, what the hell? We needed $20,000 to put down on a loan to get anybody to even pay attention to us. So we put that together through good people in my family, and still got to pay those people back. But if you can put 20% down in a climate like Utica, you can at least get a bank to pay attention. It certainly didn't hurt that Chris had an established relationship and some good cash flow at Elk Creek, so these people would take us semi-seriously. We were a startup with the Taylor and Cook, and I'm not involved in Elk Creek, but at least Chris had shown some signs of pointing towards success at Elk Creek, and you can't do it without anything. You've got, and there may be some businesses that you can open up where a bank will finance you, but it's just like buying a house, you got to put something down. But we ran out of money, and we opened over budget and undercapitalized through Taylor and Cook, and we learned a lot, going towards Utica Red on what you actually needed budget-wise to open a food service base in Utica. So yeah, I don't want to say that banks won't finance hospitality, food service, restaurants, but there's going to be a cap to it, because when you look at the national averages for food services, it's scary. We haven't even hit the national average of the tipping point. You have to be open 5 years to beat the odds in the United States from the National Restaurant Association figures. That's when you can expect that you might be able to stay open for another 5. That's a good question. It really depends on. It's certainly easier to make some money if you have some money, but you don't need to finance an operation completely. We certainly did, and we didn't with Utica Red either. You have to have a good relationship with a banker and an institution that is, willing to take a chance on a hospitality business and also a neighborhood or a city like Utica. Yes, sir.
Tim, can you tell us where you're gonna be, what you're gonna be doing on July 21?
I hope that it doesn't take that long, but Chris and I and Melissa and Tracy have a couple of other ideas. And I won't spill the beans too much, but they're all right here in Bag Square, and I do intend to have a couple of other offerings, hospitality-based businesses here in Bag Square, and
Hotel on Hotel Street?
I don't know if we want to get into the hotel business, but of course, we ventured into retail bread, which is certainly not, I don't know anything about retail. So we're in a kind of uncharted waters. But you can only open so many restaurants, and restaurants are what I know. You can only open so many restaurants in one neighborhood, you know, so, yeah, there's some other things, in the pipeline. I don't know if we'll stick to that July 8th. I like to celebrate a birthday one of these days. Actually, that would be my 40th birthday, Tom, so I'm hopefully far away from here for that one, at least that week. But,
What do you think is the biggest challenge for Bank Square in the neighborhood, in this block specifically moving forward? Like, what's the biggest challenge for the development of this neighborhood as we move forward?
it's a pretty loaded question. We gotta be careful with that. There are some challenges that, turning around the neighborhood takes a lot of time. And it's not me or Chris or Frank or Heather. It's a cooperative of people. And I don't think you measure change in 1 or 2 years. It takes 5, 6, 7, 10. But there's so much great potential in these buildings. Some of them have been used, some of them have been not. But a neighborhood needs certain kinds of businesses. You need a good mix. So the challenge is I think, attracting the right people that have an idea that is cohesive to the mentality of Bag Square. And I think you have to court that in a way that brings people living here, daytime and nighttime businesses, service and not service-based businesses that require street front access, and businesses that can operate without that sort of ground level. There's probably a number of challenges, but it's just having the right people in the right buildings and being neighborly or courting those people. When Master Pizza was changing hands, it was important to all of us to see someone going in there that could be a viable progression in Bag Square. Unless you buy up every building and open up concepts in every one, which isn't realistic, you have to just kind of put a little faith in the momentum of the neighborhood, attracting the right people. We definitely have a lot of people paying attention to Bag Square, so I think that's the challenge, just making sure that, and you can only control that to a certain point, that each space is used in a way that's furthering the neighborhood, not just each individual business or space.
So, you talked about how the bar was set really high for you. Much of the reason for that is because everybody would agree that it's because the food that you create is art. It's this beautifully done creative food. And, I guess I'm wondering how you balance that artistic side, creativity, of the culinary side of the business with the business side, with the entrepreneurial side. I know you have to tell us you want to partners, but is that a difficult balance?
Yeah, I'd be honest with you, sir. I'm less involved in that part today than I was 2 years ago, and I'm not upset about that, but it's hard to create that art in the kitchen and still, I mean, if we just operated the tailor and the cook, I could have just stayed in the kitchen there. But my role is changing. And I think that entrepreneurialism, is that a word?
I think it's entrepreneurship. Oh, I don't know. I do that too.
English wasn't really one of my strong points.
Maybe it's entrepreneurialism. I like it.
Being an entrepreneur or a businessman is artistic in some ways as well, but you know, that food is art. I love to cook, but I also really love the analytics of operating a business, and so there's better cooks out in the world than me, and there's actually a couple of them that work for me that really are. We have such a really good relationship, and Vince Petrano stepped into the sous chef position at the Tailor and the Cook, and Steve Arbogast is at the helm in Utica Bread, and you know, I just want to make sure that I'm giving these guys the space to really start to develop themselves, and that allows me to kind of develop myself as more of a. I just feel like if I stayed behind the line at the Tailor and the Cook and just cooked, it would be great, but it really isn't the progression that I need. And so I'm never going to step away from the Tailor and the Cook. I'll always be a part of the kitchen but I'm really more focused on the product sourcing now, dealing with the farms, dealing with the development of the concept as a whole, and that's artistic to me. And so is developing a brand like Utica Bread and whatever's next. It's damn near impossible to operate a business from a stationary point behind the line. It's really tough. And that's what creates burned out chefs who lose their grasp on business. It's really hard to operate the whole picture from behind the line. And I learned that, you know, I mean, those first couple of years were tough, and I miss some parts of it. I don't prep and cook as much as I used to. But I'm pretty sure that we wouldn't have evolved the way that we did if I had been doing what I was doing those first couple of years. And I've got great people around me that are really talented, and I'll always be a part of that creative process. But to answer your question in a roundabout way, that balance it's almost unattainable to continue to focus on the food without paying attention to the business as a whole. And I think if I didn't realize that, we wouldn't be as moving forward as quickly as we are.
Would you say now, at 4 years in, that as a jump off from her question, you spend more time as the visionary, big picture guy, as opposed to being in the trenches doing the same thing?
I'm very careful to let you guys know when you tell me how good the food was, that it didn't have that much to do with me at this point. But yeah, I mean, I'm at a desk more than I thought I was. I'm bouncing back and forth between these two businesses. Chris and I are looking at different properties. We're talking about, you know, there's so many things that people forget about when you talk about running a restaurant. Like the roof is leaking, or the floor is degrading, or it's too hot, and you know, the smoke in the dining room, or the sound, and the price, and there's so much to think about. And we were able to get by on those first couple of years because we all wore different hats, but we are so busy now. We're doing significantly more volume than we did at the beginning, and to have stayed static would have been, I don't know if it would have led to failure, but it would have led to burnout. Burnout leads to failure. So yeah, it's conceptual for me now, but the food and the product of food that we're serving is my concept. Simple, really good, high-quality ingredients prepared as unextravagantly as we could possibly do it. You know, you're not going to see really, I use the word frou, you know, it's just not that, it's just simple food. And the plate, you know, it definitely looks good on the plate. Food is art, and the preparation of food is art, but we don't, it's very simple. It's at most rustic. And it's about sourcing a good ingredient and then letting it just, you know, you don't want to overcook a vegetable or you know, mask the flavor of a protein or you just have to find the right, for us, it's about good quality products. And somebody, I don't know if it's Wolfgang Puck, I should know this because I cite it a lot. You find a good ingredient and you try not to fuck it up. And that's how he said it. Because it really makes, excuse my language, but that is really what we're doing. You find something really good, a good piece of pork from Lucky 7 or a really fantastic vegetable from Farm Million, and you just try to do it justice. So that's the concept of the fruit of the tailor and the cook, and the guys that have come up through the kitchen follow that concept. And if they don't, if there's a different style of chef out there than me that is really focused on obscure platings and a lot of, and there's a place for that. There totally is. I enjoy that very much, but that's not us. So if the cooks in our kitchen don't latch on to that simplistic, let the ingredient shine through, then they're not the right person for our concept. So you take a good ingredient, you try to put it on the plate in as logical of a way as possible so that people understand this is farm to table. We're finding these products and we're trying to show them to the area and focus on the farmer, focus on the quality of the ingredient. So yeah, it's conceptual. And that's the same thing at Utica Bread, you know. We find a good quality wheat, we find a good cheese, we find that, you know, we just try not to embellish it too much.
So you said you're working now more with farms and farmers. I was just curious if there's anything on your menu, even though it's not a priority, that happens to be organic, or if there are farms even around here that do organic practices that you know of.
We have a few, that's a good question because it's kind of there's a lot of misnomers regarding the tailor and the cook and organics. I have 10 or 12 farms that are certified organic. That, you know, whether they be veal, or dairy, or produce, that we're buying from that are through either NOFA or a few of the other agencies that certify organics. And that's fantastic, and I am very happy to equate myself with it. The rest of the farms that aren't able to pull off that equation because certifying organics is sometimes it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. But I can tell you without question that the farmers that I do business with are practicing organics. And every time this conversation comes up, I try to push that organic stamp away because what it's about is a relationship. I know Peter and Susie Jones, or I know Steve Winkler, right? You know, and I have relationships with these people. And I can ask them questions, and if they don't answer them the way that I desire their answer to be for what the business model of the tailor and cook is, then I don't have to buy from them. One of the really beautiful things that happened is that people started coming to us. And there are some farms that have some practices that I don't really wish to align myself with. And there are some products that, you know, strawberries are a very difficult product to produce in an organic fashion. But you need strawberries in the spring in central New York. And so you have to really talk to these farmers about what they're doing, because the reality is a certified organic strawberry might not ever even make it to the plate. You know, it's tough, so yeah, there's at least 10 certified organic farms that I'm dealing with, and out of the 50 some odd other farms that I'm dealing with, I'm confident when I say that they're practicing what they preach. And there haven't been too many issues where I felt like I needed to dump a farm. It's that reporting process. You know, there's been some people that have walked through the door and, you know, ask about where their seed stock comes from or what they do with regard to pest control or fungus mediation. And there's a question, and I've learned a lot. I've learned, you know, about strawberries and how difficult it is to produce them, you know, in an organic fashion. So yeah, there's farms that I don't do business with because they don't align themselves with practices, but to me, it's about the relationship. I need to know these people. And if I can find the time to get to the farm and check out the operation, that's what's important. To know the farmer is exactly how all of our grandparents had, you know, a generation ago or 2 generations. Thanks.
Anybody else? All right. Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks to Tim.